everybody, I'm Claire and welcome to this week's episode of Converse with Comic Con. If you don't know about Converse with Comic Con, it's where we interview all of the top minds in the pop culture world, from gaming to comics and art and so much more. Just by watching these videos, thank you so much because you are helping to put African talent on the world stage and you are supporting Comic Con Africa. And why don't you consider subscribing? Click that bell button and never miss a moment of our content. Also, don't forget to stay until the end of the episode where we've got Quizmaster Cal's impossible pop quiz question. Cool, so let's get into this week's episode. Hi everyone, and welcome to our latest Converse with Comic Con. Our guest for today is Roye Okupe. He is a Nigerian-born award-winning filmmaker, author, speaker, and entrepreneur whose passion for comics and animation led him to found YouNeek Studios in 2012. Welcome, Roye. Roye, you have written, produced, and directed several animated films, including the award-winning and critically acclaimed Malaika Warrior Queen, which I have just watched and I think is absolutely awesome. And of course, these productions have caused you to attain many prestigious recognitions, such as being number 5 on Ventures Africa's list of 40 African innovators to watch in 2016, as well as being part of New African Magazine's 100 Most Influential Africans 2 years in a row, 2016 and 2017. And your team has also received critical acclaim, selling more than 100,000 copies of Malaika and counting. So welcome and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That's absolutely awesome. So to start, can you tell us a little bit about Malaika?
Yeah, so Malaika is our flagship title here at YouNeek Studios. It is a historical fantasy story that takes place in 15th century West Africa. And Malaka is actually inspired by a real African warrior queen that existed in the 16th century called Queen Amina of Zaza. So there's a lot from that story I pulled into Malaka's story, but obviously Malaka is a character on her own. And yeah, it's a story, you know, I would say that really digs deep into what it is to be not just a queen, but a warrior as well, because those two things don't necessarily always you know, agree or gel, you know, together. So really the entire, at least the first arc of Malaka is her trying to balance that dichotomy of when do I fight and when do I be diplomatic? And as well as also trying to not only quell, you know, an issue of civil war within a kingdom, but then she also has to defend, you know, an incoming attack from a huge empire that just wants to come in and crush everything that she's had to build over the course of her queenship.
So, I mean, I loved how you brought different sides of her as a woman into the short as well.
Yes.
I'm super excited to see what happens next after a bit of a cliffhanger there.
Yes. Yeah.
So, Roye, what got you into comic culture?
You know, for me, it's a weird thing because animation has always been my first love. And originally back in 2012, I was shopping around a different animated film on another character, EXO, The Legend of Wally Williams, which is a superhero story about redemption that takes place in Lagos, Nigeria, where I was born and raised. But I really couldn't get any traction with animation. And as you probably know, animation is so difficult to make, very expensive. A lot of things have to go right for you to get an animated movie or TV series. So I decided, look, you know, let me take a step back and try to see how I can tell my stories through comics, because that's something that I can fund myself and it's something that I can control in terms of the narrative and have full creative control over that. So in 2014, I started really looking at, okay, how do I get into the comic book space? Now, I've been reading comics ever since I was a kid, but I didn't know anything about the business of comics, you know, but yeah, I was able to be introduced to the comic space in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, by a guy named Ayodele Elegba, who is the organizer of the annual Lagos Comic Con. And he was able to introduce me to so many talented artists on you know, back home. And yeah, for me, I just fell in love with the medium there and then, and I've never looked back since then.
And I feel like you went through a lot to get into this career because you know you studied computer science first, is that correct? Yeah, while simultaneously studying animation.
Yeah, so yeah, it's funny. I have both an undergraduate and a master's degree in computer science, and I've ended up doing comics now, which is it's crazy. Yeah, I took a couple of classes at the Art Institute of Washington for animation as well. So yeah, it's been a very long journey to get here, but every step has not been wasted because I've been able to learn something that I've been able to bring into what I'm doing now. It takes a lot to run a publishing business. It takes even a lot more to run one successfully for a long period of time consistently. And I can only attribute that to a lot of things that I faced, good and bad, from the past, is the reason why I'm here today.
It's absolutely amazing. I mean, I really admire how you just cashed in that 401k and just went for it. Incredible.
It was a tough
Yeah,
decision. I don't know if I'll make that decision again, honestly, because
really.
that was a very risky, that's my retirement,
Yeah.
saving, that's something that you want to protect you for the long term. In hindsight, honestly, I don't know if I would advise anybody to do that. I mean, it worked for me because obviously here I am, but it was a very risky thing. Most financial people will tell you, look, you want to make sure you save money if you're trying to quit your job and then use that money, and not just take out your retirement. But I was young, I was hungry, I was very passionate, so I made that decision, and luckily it has worked out for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
And lucky for us, I feel as well, because now we've got some
Yeah,
really awesome stuff coming out of YouNeek.
I
And
guess.
now you've signed a deal with Dark Horse Comics, which is
Yes.
massive.
Yeah, no, it's a huge thing. I think, credit to Dark Horse for even, taking the chance and also because they reached out to me. It wasn't something where I went and I said, hey, I want to be published by you guys moving forward. Like, they reached out to me, they were able to see, I think they not that I think I know that they recognize the potential that the continent brings to the table when it comes to not just storytelling, but the actual creative people as well, the writing, the art. And that's another thing. Every book that I produce, 95% of the team is from Nigeria. And that's something that I'm very proud about because I get to show, African talent on a global and mainstream stage. And that's one of my main things. Like, I always say that, one of the biggest missions or the mission for YouNeek Studios is to empower African creatives and storytelling. So it's not just the stories and the characters and the worlds, it's the people that are creating these worlds that I'm hoping to empower. Obviously started with myself as a creator, and then also the artists that I work with as well. But yeah, the Dark Horse thing is huge, and I can't wait for people to see what we have coming starting in September and moving forward in the years to come.
And you know what, definitely, I mean, looking at the credits at the end of the short, you can see that there are a lot of people
Yes.
from Africa involved, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. And I mean, that kind of brings me to what the comic scene in Nigeria is like.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've almost answered that. It must be so rich.
No, it's a young industry, but it's one that is growing so rapidly. It's amazing the amount of even before the Dark Horse deal, the amount of attention that the mainstream audience is now paying attention to, not just Nigeria but Africa as a whole when it comes to not just even animation but comics, even video games now as well. But the comic scene specifically is a very passionate one. There's a lot of people that have always, obviously like me, loved characters like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men. And now we get to see ourselves, in this light as well. So it's a huge awakening of that spirit of fandom that you're seeing now. Like I said, the Lagos Comic Con, I think it's been done now 8 years in a row. Unfortunately, it had to be canceled last year because of COVID, like everything else.
Yeah.
But it's a convention that is strong. Every year, thousands of people come out from different parts of not just Nigeria but West Africa to be part of this, the event. So it's just it goes to show the amount of passion that people have, back home and in the diaspora as a whole. When it comes to African comics and where we hope to see it go in the future.
That's awesome. So what award are you looking to scoop up next?
Yeah. Honestly, for me, I know it sounds, cliche, but I try not to focus on awards. I just try to focus on telling stories that I would have loved to see growing up, and I would love to see now. And I think the whole thing about awards, those things always, they happen when they're meant to happen. It's nice to win awards. It's nice to be able to be recognized. Don't get me wrong. I want to win as many as possible, but my focus is just creating characters that are compelling. And honestly, like, as much as I'm proud of the authenticity we're bringing to the comic book space, and also the fact that our comics are inspired by African history, culture, and mythology, at the end of the day, what I always start with is like, I want to create great characters. I want to create compelling stories that people all over the world can see themselves in. And these characters and these worlds just happen to be African inspired. Like, that's, to me, that's the cherry on top. That's the icing on the cake. But the meat of what I'm trying to create is really global stories for people from all types of race and ethnicities all over the world, as well. So that is the main focus. But obviously, again, I think, the inspiration around our characters being African, and the culture and the history and mythology is something that just gives us that extra edge.
And is the fact that you chose Malaika as as a woman,
Yeah.
does that speak to African culture and history as well? Because obviously Western dynamics are so patriarchal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that definitely, like, for me, Malaka was very, and if you look at the background, you will see a lot of female heroes, in these paintings. It's very important to me that as we uplift, African storytelling, we include women, because in our history, we've had a lot of great women, that have done a lot of great things. So I don't want this to be a situation where, it's like the men that were getting out there first. Like, it should be on equal footing. And it just happens to show that Malaika is actually, our biggest character, at least right now. And, to me, I've always been surrounded by strong women my entire life. Like, I have two older sisters, my mother, obviously, and now my wife. I get to see on a daily basis how influential they are to me and the world around me and the world around them. And I'm trying to bring those stories into these superhero characters and these fantasy characters in a way that, again, it's natural, it's compelling, it's not forced, or it's not done because, I want to fill out a quota and say I want to have X amount of female heroes. It's just a natural thing. That I feel like, lends itself better to storytelling. Like, you go outside every day, you're going to see men and women, right? So that should be reflected in our storytelling as well.
I mean, I think it's absolutely awesome, and she is so power, and
Yes.
I can't wait to see more about her. So when is more coming?
Well, look, we're trying. There's obviously with the Dark Horse announcement, there's been a lot of doors that have opened up for us. One thing that I always pride myself on is doing things and doing them well and doing them with quality. You just never want to just do something because you want to do something or you want to do something quickly. So with Malaika, we're taking our time to find the right partners, because obviously whether we're going to do an animated movie or a TV series, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort. But we want to make sure that we do it the right way, and in a way that people like you who love the character already can be proud of the next iteration. We just don't want to put something out there and then it's like, oh man, this doesn't even feel, it doesn't feel as good as the first one. So right now we're talking to different people, producers, to see, okay, what is the logical next step and how do we do it, the right way moving forward. But I can tell you that there's a lot of good conversations being happened. I can't say too much right now, but hopefully in the future we'll be making some announcements on that as well.
That is very exciting. So, and when those announcements are made, can you tell us where we're going to find these?
You can, as long as you're following us on YouNeek Studios, and it's at YouNeek Studios, YOUNEEK, and then the word studios, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can also check out our website, uniquestudios.com. As long as you're plugged into those, I guarantee you will be the first to know once any type of news breaks.
So I've got one last question, which is, what would you say to your younger self, or perhaps someone in Africa where they don't maybe have resources like we do, and they have this dream? What would you say to them?
To my younger self, I would say, just be patient. Everything is going to be fine, because I still do it. Sometimes I get anxious when things don't happen as quickly as I want them to. And sometimes that leads me to make very silly decisions. Gladly, no silly decisions that have cost me too much. So I would say just, be patient. Everything is going to work out. Just keep on doing what you're doing. And to anybody out there listening from any part of the world, I think, it starts with you believing in yourself first. No one's going to believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. And I would say that, the internet now has leveled the playing field a little bit for people. That was really how I got my breakthrough, was through social media. It's how I built my fan base. I would just tell people, like, look, keep pushing. Failure is part of the process. And you're gonna have a lot. It's not what people want to hear necessarily, but it's the honest truth. Like, I've failed so much. There's been so many things that I've done wrong, but I've never let those setbacks discourage me from what I feel like is my right, which is I want to tell these stories and I want to tell them on a global scale. So I think if you're humble, hardworking, patient, and persistent, I think you can do great things. So those four things are the things that I've worked for me against: humility, hard work, patience, and persistence. You don't need a lot of money for those things. Right. It doesn't take money to be humble. It doesn't take money to be hardworking. It doesn't take money to be persistent. It doesn't take money to be patient. It takes you and a mindset. And once you have those things, you can do great things no matter where you are.
Those are extremely powerful words and advice that I certainly feel like I want to take to heart as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Roy. It's been so interesting to chat to you. And thank you for bringing Malaika to the world. And I'm really looking forward to the next installment. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure being here. Followed you guys obviously from all the different things you've been doing over the year. And it's an honor to be here and to be interviewed by you.
Oh, thank you. It's such an honor to have you here. So thanks so much, Roy.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Quizmaster Kel here for the impossible pop culture quiz question. Today I want to know from you, which kingdom does Queen Malaika rule over? Leave your answers in the comment below and don't forget to join us for quiz nights every second Thursday.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I really hope you enjoyed that interview with Roy. How interesting is that guy? So now I'm going to tell you about all the exciting stuff that is happening with Comic Con Africa at the moment. First of all, we have got this awesome March merch madness sale going on. You can get up to 50% off selected merchandise. So please do go take a look at our shop and check that out and snap up some cool deals. We also want to let you know about our podcast, The Concast, which happens every second Wednesday on Apple Music and Spotify. And you can go listen to that at your leisure. We've got a few episodes up now, so hope you guys enjoy that. We also have our James Bond quiz taking place next week, which is Thursday the 11th of March. Remember, we have those quizzes every second week and they are awesome and you can win amazing prizes and they are super fun. Play with over 100 of your friends from Comic Con Africa and be in with a chance to win something. Also, have you signed up for our newsletter? Please check out the link here and you can sign up for our newsletter where we share all of the interesting stuff that's happening with Comic Con Africa. Last of all, we are launching Comic Con Africa Gaming this month. We've put a few cool trailers up on our social media pages, so go check those out and keep an eye open for what cool stuff is going to be happening with CCA Gaming. Thanks everyone, so nice to hang out with you as always. See you next time.